Hi, readers. Welcome to this edition of the Because Fiction Questions and Answers, where we ask our authors your questions and see what they have to say. It's so much fun. And so this week we are featuring the beautiful Marguerite Gray. I just love her. And so, Marguerite, before we get started asking and answering the readers' questions, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on in your reader world?
Yes, and it's a crazy world because last February I was thinking I was going to stop teaching and do this writing thing full time and all this kind of stuff. And then the pandemic hit, and so now I'm helping out and I'm teaching again full time on online French and Spanish. So I do that in the morning, and then I do my writing in the afternoon. And right now I'm finishing up number 3 in my Gardens in Time series. And so that's going really well. So I'm excited about that. And then in April, I'm going to do the National Novel Writers Month. I never know how to say that. But anyway, that little thing where you write for a month. And I'm going to try my hand at a novella just to see if I can do it, because I think I need to do it for you at some point. Yes, so I need 50,000 word, see if I can do it, because I usually write 95 to 100,000 words. So that is going to be an interesting learning curve, I think. So I don't know, maybe it'll just go smoothly and I'll be, be fine doing it. So those are my 2 projects right now. Besides, I know editing's coming up with a release next year, and that I'm doing a whole lot with Wait for Me, the book now. And so things are opening up, and we're having book signings and things like that coming up. So I'm looking forward to that as things open up, that I can do things personally.
Right. So now Wait for Me finished that was book 5 in the series. And so that series has been completed, and you're starting a new series called A Garden in Time.
Gardens in Time, because it's 4 of them, so it's gardens.
Gotcha. So tell us a little bit about that series.
Okay, well, the first one, I do a lot of traveling, or I've done a lot of traveling, and I always love the gardens and wherever I go. So that just had this idea, and I love history. So these are historical, and they're standalones. They have nothing to do with each other except that there's a garden involved. And so the first one is Labor of Love, and it takes place in Florence, Italy, in the Boboli Gardens. And that's real exciting because it's during a time when the Dukes are coming up and they're doing all their Duke things and all that. But
their Duke things.
Their Duke things, whatever that, whatever that is. They're trying to get in power, and they're Pope and Duke things. So so that's involved in there. And then the second one, which is complete also, is Promise of Purity. And it takes place at Hampton Court in England in 1660, when Charles II comes back from being overseas in exile, and he comes back, and just all that kind of stuff. And my favorite place on earth is the third one, and it's in Chenonceau Chateau in France. And so that one is the third one that I'm finishing up right now. And the fourth one will take place in Switzerland. So they go like each one's in a separate century. Okay, if that makes sense. They're in a separate century, but
that makes sense.
Yeah. The characters aren't connected. It's just a beautiful garden, and it's usually at the time when the gardens are being developed. So you have people there who are actually laying out the gardens, and very, the research there, it's very authentic. So, so that's what I'm doing.
Fun. Well, it's so good to hear what's going on with you. And so, are you ready to get started on some reader questions?
I'm really excited.
Yay! So the first question is from Melissa Warwell, and she asks, how much time and research do you spend before you're ready to write?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So love you, Melissa. Thank you for the question. Since it is historical, I want it to be very authentic, or as authentic as possible, even though in fiction you have a little leeway there, but I want it to be based. So when I started this series, the published series that takes place in Charleston, South Carolina during the pre-Civil War, pre-Revolution and Revolution, I bought everything. I didn't go to the library and say, oh, I want, to check this out. No, I bought them, and I highlighted, and then I typed up my notes. But I started with 25 resources. So I have 25 of those original for the first one, for Hold Me Close. with each. And so that took me probably, I would say 6 months before I even started writing I might have outlined a little bit, but I didn't write anything. And then, so I used those books for the first one, research there. And then of course, with the series, some of those could carry over. So I didn't have to, do that. But I added about 10 books each installment. And so I ended up with 45 to 50 books in my library for research. So Melissa, the answer to your question is, in between each book, I probably spent 2 to 3 months doing more research. So it's, probably a year's worth, I guess, of research for the series, plus on-site things. I would go and I would travel and do that. So to me, historicals, and I'm doing the same thing for the other series. I have, each of the books has a shelf, and the shelf might have 15 fiction and nonfiction books. Fiction, I also read fiction for these books. I think fiction is very exciting to read of these time periods. So I do that also. And it's in my little library thing. So maybe that answered the question, but a lot of time before I even write one word.
Answer. I loved it. That's so interesting. So our next question, actually, Kimberly Morrison, she asked 2 questions. Okay. So the first question is, what inspired your latest book?
My latest book is the last book of the series. So it's the same inspiration, and it goes with family stories. My father has always taken us to the cemeteries, the churches, and passed down family history. Well, one time when we were in our antebellum home, he was doing a tour. And so he was standing there with this locket in his hand, and I was probably 30, because I'm older now, but I was 30, and I was listening to him in the corner saying, why are these people, so interested in what he was saying? And then I realized I'm related to the person he was talking about in that locket. And so it just inspired me to, okay, this was a real person from France. What was he doing in Charleston? How in the world did he marry somebody and have children, during this time period? So I got on a plane within the next month by myself, no husband or children, and I went to Charleston and started that. So I guess I should say that my family and their love of history and travel and all that inspired me to look a little deeper. And it's personal, but these books are not a genealogy of my life at all. I just took 2 characters and thought, ooh, let's make them fictional and make them actually live and work and have children and do crazy stuff. So that was my inspiration for the
wow. Yeah. That's so cool, Fred. What a blessing to have family history and your dad who loves family history and has told you all about it. I think I'm fortunate because my dad has passed on a lot of the family photos. And I have my great grandmother's Bible where she wrote in the columns of the Bible. I mean, like, to have those things.
Oh, I'd love to have that.
Is such, like the locket that you're talking about. I mean, it's such a blessing to be able to know. Right?
They really existed. Yeah, they really existed, and they really lived in a historical time.
Yes, I think it's so fun. I mean, just to hear and to see how different things were.
Yeah, very different.
So now you said something about an antebellum house. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Okay, well, the house is here in my hometown. We've moved back home because my parents actually live in the big house. We call it a big barn. It's just a barn is what Mama says, because, you have to upkeep these big houses. So it's a family home. And so we moved back to this small rural town in Louisiana to take care of the house, to take care of them, etc. So it was built in 1848, and it was a plantation. And a working plantation. Went through the Civil War, although we didn't have battles here or anything, but it survived that. And it's just gone down through the generations. I was married there. My sisters were married there. It just has a lot of, and it's full of antiques. Somebody said, how is it living here? Is it, what's it like? And it was just home. I mean, it wasn't, people saw it as a museum. It's like everything you look at is historical, but it was home, and we made it, it was a modern modern place where we lived. We were just surrounded by antiques, and it was just really weird. But so it's still there, and we're upkeeping it. It has gardens and things like that. So it doesn't have the plantation part anymore. It only has about 20 acres maybe. So it's not land. It's just the big house. So,
that's amazing, friend.
yeah, so that's fun.
So Kimberly's second question is, what method of advertising have you found to be the most beneficial for your books?
I hope she doesn't want just one, because I think I have to be just all out there all over the place. But I will say a couple, and the first would be readers and reviews. I think that if you're a reader and you have friends and you say, oh, I really like this book, then those friends are probably, because I do it. Somebody says, yeah, read this book, I go and buy the book. I mean, it's no brainer for me. So I think that's probably number one. And that's, to me, that's advertising in a way, although, you know, my readers want to read the books, but that's a good one. Also, locally, I do bookstores, libraries, the organizations I'm in DAR and PEO and church things and ACFW, that's the American Christian Fiction Writers. All of that, I think, is a way to do advertising also. Then Instagram, newsletters, Goodreads, love Goodreads. I'm on Goodreads every single day because I want to see what people are reading.
The queen of Goodreads.
I love it.
It's
I
so
love it. Do you really see me on there?
Yes.
Yes.
And
I'm sorry. I just want people to know my updates and.
Oh, it's so fun to read and watch. And Denise, for those of you readers who aren't familiar, my daughter Denise, she works with us on the publishing and publicity side, and she's like, you know, Marguerite needs to teach a class on Goodreads because she's so good at it.
I love it. I think it's just fascinating to see what people are reading, and then to know how quickly or slowly I'm reading a book. And then I also want my author friends to know that I really am reading that book. I mean, it might take me a while because I read like 4 books at a time, but like with Melissa's, I mean, I wanted her to know that Heart Press was being read, you know, it was just like, you know, and so I check those kind of things if it's my book, and I just think it's a fun site. So it might be silly.
Facebook for readers and authors. I mean, you can really see a lot of fun things on there. So readers, if you haven't checked out Goodreads and all that it has to offer, you should, because it's a great way to get to know authors. And
I do a giveaway for each of the books that I have published. And I think I'm going to do that in May, and I give away 10 print copies, and that way it's like, you know, 2,000 people respond and say and put it on their shelf, but you know, only 10 get the books. But I just think it's a great way. So that is, as an author, I think that's a great exposure, a great advertisement also. Let's see, Because Fiction, I think that's a great place, and your multi-author giveaways, Celebrate Lit. So and the Celebrate Lit tours. So who am I talking? I don't know, who was this? Kimberly. Lots of things. Yeah. There's not just one. I think if I just chose one, I don't think I don't know what it'd be, except maybe readers.
And you're really balanced in how you approach it. So that's great, friend. So our next question comes from Crystal, and she wants to know, do you visit every place / setting while doing research on a book?
Absolutely.
So
maybe not while on the book, but absolutely. Now I will make one caveat, and that is in book number 2, Surround Me, I did not go to Boston. Okay, but it took place in Charlestown, but I did not go to Boston. So Boston had to do research, and I talked to people who had been. But in all of my books, that's where I get inspired, is going to the place. Now I'm going to have a real problem with our Polynesian islands. I've tried to, that series coming up, I've tried to talk my husband into taking me to like Bora Bora or, you know, someplace like that. It hadn't happened yet. So maybe so. But anyway, Charlestown, I've been to after every book, or before I wrote the books, I would go. And then I've been 5 times, and I've gone into the research libraries. Each time I go deeper and deeper into what Charlestown has to offer in the historical arena, and it is just awesome. I have just stacks of stuff. Now, some of it's personal, but lots of it was used for research. In the Gardens in Time, I've been to all those gardens. I've been to Bobley Garden 3 times. I've been to Hampton Court probably 5 times. Shenandoah 10 times, because anytime I go back to my favorite countries, I go to those favorite spots. So, yes, the answer is yes. Yes.
That's amazing. How fun.
Yeah.
So our next question from Crystal is, how long have you been writing?
I've been a reader forever, but I started writing when I was in elementary school. So I'm going to say way back. But I have not pursued the novel, and I wrote articles and stuff, but I haven't pursued the novel until about 2007, when my kids were getting older. I took maybe 3 part-time jobs. I stopped teaching full-time for a summer. They were teenagers, and I just thought, oh, I'll just do this. And so every afternoon I would write, and in a 2-year span, working part-time, I wrote 6 novels that were 90,000 words each. So it's like, I really like doing this, and I can't stop doing this. So then it was like, my husband was probably the instigator. It's like, what are you going to do with all this? I mean, you spend all your time writing these, and what are you going to do? And I said, well, I don't know. Nobody wants to read them. So, but anyway, so I was not published until 2018. But I started writing seriously, whether it's for myself or for future publication. I don't know, but that's where it is. So my answer is for a really long time, but now I can't stop. And so even if nobody ever publishes me again, I really can't stop. The ideas are just floating.
What a blessing to be your publisher. So this is fun.
Thank you. You're wonderful.
Are we doing, like, we
Sorry
do
about the train.
That's okay. We do a lot of authors across many publishers, but it's so special to do one from our own publishing house. So it's a blessing. And as long as you're writing, we'll be publishing.
Okay,
so
well, I'm there.
One of us retires, or the Lord calls us home.
Right. Well, I'm older than you are, so you can't retire. So, and I keep retiring, and it doesn't work from other jobs, not from writing though, but
You must be talking to Shatona, because she says I'm not allowed to retire too.
You're not. And and we're both older than you are, I think. So she is a few years, and I'm many years, but
I don't think you're many years older than me.
I'm not that. But I just have white hair. I've had white hair since I was 25. And so it's just white. It doesn't have anything to do with my age.
Well, you're a beautiful friend, and I love you very much. So we have one last question, and the person didn't put their name, but I thought it was a great question. She's the question is, what is one positive thing that has come out of the pandemic for you?
And I've blogged on that, and I think personally, the pandemic slowed me down. I had all these other plans that I was going to do, because I was getting out of the classroom, and I was going to go and I was going to do these wonderful travel, and I was going to do, writing projects and things like that. And I think it just got me focused. I don't know if there's one thing, there are just many, but one of them would be gardening. My mother calls me an accidental gardener. I'll throw seeds out, and these things pumpkins start growing, and that's just kind of fun. And I get to see my parents every day. And I did during the pandemic, and I did all the stuff for them, at least through the summer. And then Daddy got back out, and he wanted to do things. And I just think, counting your blessings and slowing down. And as things open up, and all the organizations that I'm a part of, I'm really not wanting to go back to the meetings and go back, just have have 5 meetings a month that I have to go to, and all that kind of stuff. And I know I will, but I just think slowing down and realizing what's important came out of the pandemic. And I hope that's true for all of us, in that it's just, there's just a lot of stuff going on out there, and just to stop and have to stop. I mean, we were forced to, and just stop,
Yeah,
So
we have the same thing. It's like, we still have 3 college age kids at home. So we're going and doing, and it's been so nice. Like our calendar's been clear. We've spent so much time together as a family playing games, watching movies. So, and usually like Christmas time is jam packed. You know how it is with all this stuff. Well, my son came down with COVID like the week before Christmas, and it kind of just rolled out from there. So my daughter Kelsey and I actually came down with it on Christmas Day. And so, and ours wasn't a bad case. What really bugged us both is that we lost our taste and smell, and it still isn't completely
During
back.
Christmas, yeah.
And you kind of like, I feel very old, Marguerite, because you kind of just, it takes a while to come back, your energy and everything. But it was a hard Christmas because we didn't see family and everything. But what a blessing to be with my kids and have my kids. And I was just so thankful that we had that opportunity. And I think a lot of people have been saying that, just what a blessing it is to slow down. And what a blessing you could see your parents and be with your parents, and you moved before all this happened so you could have them.
God's hand was in all of this, because yes, it really helped being here. So,
Well,
and without a job and all those kind of things really helped, it's good.
yeah, jobs are important.
No, jobs are, when I say it's resigned because I didn't retire. I'm not old enough to retire, but when I resigned, but I really felt like I needed to in the pandemic. And one way I could help was going back online as a teacher, because they needed online teachers so desperately. And so I've really enjoyed it. So I'm keeping that up for now, but all just worked out. I was around for them, and I didn't have to go, to school, and it was good. It was good.
Right. What a blessing. So that was our last question. It has been so much fun talking with you. And so now we get to announce a winner of our $5 Amazon gift card. And so I'm so excited. What was your favorite question, Marguerite?
My favorite question was I don't know who said that, but the one about do I travel? Do I go to all?
Oh,
because I think
that is Crystal. So Crystal, if you submitted and ask that question, please email me at celebratelit@celebratelit.com, and we'll get your $5 Amazon gift card over to you. And then readers, we have something special. So I just wanted to give you a look-see because I think they're so pretty. These are Marguerite's books, and this is her latest one. It's called Wait for Me. And so Marguerite has talked a lot about visiting places and traveling for research. And I thought it would be fun, readers, for you to say, if you could go travel to one place anywhere in the world, all expenses paid, where would you go? What would you do? Where would you go, friend, if you could go? Can you hear me?
Where would I go?
Yeah, where would you go, friend?
Yeah, are you asking where to go? Okay, where would I go? I would go to. I would rent. Listen, I'm going to go for a long period of time. I'm going to go for a month or 6 weeks. Okay, so I would go to, and rent a small cottage for about 6 weeks in the country.
In the country. Oh, fun. Out in the country. Well, readers, you tell us where you would go. Comment below. If you've seen this in a group or on YouTube, please make sure you go to the original Facebook post, because that's where you're going to enter. And then we're going to pick a winner to receive an ebook of the whole set of Marguerite's books and a paperback of Wait for Me. So one person will win the whole set and one person will win a paperback of Wait for Me. So thank you so much, readers, for joining us today. Thank you, Marguerite, for being here.
Thank you.
See you next time on our Because Fiction Q&A. Bye, readers.
Bye.